Welcome, world, to Life, Love, and Wellness Global, a worldwide wellness movement. I am Reverend Sandy Rogers, and as the creator of this historic event, it is my pleasure to welcome you. We come together to bring you this historic event. We have practitioners, holistic practitioners. We have medical doctors. We have spiritual individuals. This event is so lovingly dedicated to my mother, Mrs. Barbara Dean Brown. And my mother taught me like 40 plus years ago about the importance and the meaning behind herbs. And she would always say, we don't know what they putting in those pills, so you better not, get hooked on prescription drugs. And so we listened to Mom, but not all of us paid attention. My sister, bless her heart, was diagnosed recently thereafter with asthma, and she was prescribed prednisone, which is a very powerful steroid. And my sister actually got hooked on steroids, like someone out on the street kind of hooked, like on heroin or crack or something like that. And so my mom and my sister are both on the other side, living in the other dimension, but they're upholding me, and this is dedicated to their memory. So we don't want to come and make you change your mind about what you're doing. We just want to provide information to you, something different, so that you have options to choose from, so that you're not stuck. Because the environment that we now live in, the fast foods, the toxins in the air that we breathe and in the water that we drink, and the processed foods, and all of that is causing havoc on this precious body temple. So God created our bodies to heal themselves, but they can only heal themselves when they're fed and they're nourished and they're stress-free. And so the 60 or so or more experts that we have are bringing you this worldwide wellness movement in an attempt to share their testimonies and their information with you. So we have from age 14 on up. I don't even know what the oldest age is. I think 88 or something. So you see, that's a wide range of knowledge that we're bringing you. And so we hope that you come and that you get all the knowledge that you need to affect a positive change on your life, and share this with others. It's free, it's online, and so we're just so thankful that you decided to be a part of our listening community, the viewing community, and we certainly appreciate you for giving us your time of day and your energy and your efforts to being with us and to being a part of this historic event. We have pulled together people of color for you, by you, right? So we want to make sure that you understand that we too, melanated people with color, can enjoy, practice, and participate in some of these modalities that others have been doing for centuries, and that is pretty new to our community. So we talk about Qigong, we talk about meditation, yoga, spiritual work from a different perspective than religion. So we talk about the spirituality aspect. We talk about abuse in the families. We talk about all kinds of subjects because we know that in our communities there are layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff that we never talk about that's causing a negative effect on our bodies and its healing process. So we address it, whatever it is, and we hope that you will benefit from the many experts that we have, and that you walk away with lots of knowledge and lots of new information, and that you become fully empowered to share information with others. So thank you for being with us. We love you and we bless you, and we look forward to doing this again. But thanks for being here with the first one. We appreciate you.
Love and wellness. Life, love and wellness.
We're in the beautiful mountains of North Georgia and Chatsworth with a wonderful, wonderful spirit, a Native American, Tom Blue Wolf, who is so connected and who shares so freely of himself with the universe. So, Tom, how would you describe yourself to the world?
Well, I've come to think that and feel, most importantly, in my heart, that I'm a human being. And like a lot of my old friends, I seem to be struggling to be human in a world that's rapidly forgetting what that means. And what I like to think of myself doing is creating a safe, loving environment for folks to be able to heal, especially children, the little people. My dream personally is a child-friendly world where everybody has good water to drink and some good food to eat and somebody to love on them and somebody they can love, a warm bed to sleep in. There's enough of that for everybody. We don't need to deprive anybody of those. I believe those to be God-given rights to enjoy the ride on this planet Earth while we soar through heaven. We're all on the same ride. We're all in this together. And so it's been my mission to try to provide spaces wherever I am where people can appreciate and have gratitude, and maybe more importantly, respect and dignity about what it means to be a human being and what human beings are actually capable of on a good day. We always say the world is perfect. There's just a lot of people having a bad conversation. So what we strive to do is to raise the level of our personal poetry so the things we say to one another actually reflect what we hold dear in our hearts about what it actually means to be human walking together on the earth at this particular temporal lives that we have right now would seem more meaningful and purposeful if we knew that we were here for a very cosmic purpose, right? And it says on the original instructions that we're supposed to be stewards. We're supposed to be caretakers for this place. We're supposed to help nature help herself. So it's just a consideration. I think at this time it would be more critical than ever in my life I've seen and heard about, because there's so many two-leggeds and four-leggeds and so much mass extinction going on right now. We're losing 120 species of plants or animals every 24 hours right now. And we're using up 30% more resources than we can replace. And if my house was burning down 30% faster than I could put the fire out, I'm in a crisis situation. But you can look around and nobody's talking about the crisis. Nobody's talking about the terminal illness that's taking place right now on the spiritual level. Everybody's just talking about the money. How much does it cost? A good friend of mine who passed away recently was a very powerful environmentalist in this area. Studied at the University of Georgia. Him and his brother, spiritual brother, who developed Sapelo Island, and the other fellow was in the Blue Ridge Mountains. They did a memoriam to him down at the Fox Theater, right? He's like 90-something years old, and they wanted to honor his life of how much energy and information, education he brought to the environmental community. And so there was a panel on the stage talking about it, a panel of corporate CEOs and whatnot, like FedEx and UPS and Southern Wire. And so they asked him at the end of because the issue was, is there enough money to take care of this problem? And it was split. Everybody said, no, we don't have that much money. But yet they come up with trillions of dollars to go to war. You know what I mean? They come up with all this money when they want to do something, but they said they don't have enough money appropriated for taking care of our home. And so his analogy was this. He stood up in the audience, and he wouldn't sit on the stage with these people for whatever his own personal reasons were. He wanted to sit out in the audience with the people. And he stood up and he said, well, I'm gonna paint you a little picture for a minute, and I'd like you to consider the decision you might make. And everybody said, what's that? And he said, imagine that you have a baby, a precious baby, one you've wanted all your life, and one that you've been assigned to take care of, right, all its life. But that baby has a terminal illness. It's fixable. We have a cure, but it's cost prohibitive. Would you let the baby die? Or would you say, I'm going to come up with whatever it takes, I'm going to find however high I can, I want to save that baby's life? That's the decision that we're at right now. And it really, truly, if we searched our hearts, it's not about the money. 7.5 billion people on this planet could make anything happen. Even 10% of them. You know, so it's not about the money, it's about us agreeing that this earth is the most important thing in our lifetime. And taking care of her is the most important meaning and purpose we could have to our lifetime. Finding a job somewhere in a coal mine, as good as all these things are, finding this, that, and the other, going over here looking for that, trying to move to Paris to find somebody you love to hang out with, all these other things don't mean nothing if we lose this. And so my thing is, if we're not past it, we're on it. And it's called the tipping point, where you can't go back. It's gone too far. Now you're just going to have to look for out. If you're not able to evolve in your environment, you know what the other alternative is before termination? Mutation. So you'll have a planet of mutants who are able to live in a toxic environment. They can live off of carbon dioxide, you know what I mean? They can breathe methane, you know what I mean? They can deal with all of this stuff. But what we're going to be then? We're not going to be human beings anymore. We're going to be something else. Different life form. Is that okay with us? And if it's not, then we need to take some action and stay on the original instructions. You remember the original instructions, right? When we came here as spirit long time ago, we were only given 2 instructions. They said, we want you to go here and take care of this place. You're going to be mama's immune system. She's going to feel what you feel. You're going to feel what she feels. Take care of her. So there's only 2 things that you have to do in order to live there forever. You have to love me, and you have to love each other. That's all you got to do. The original instructions. Love the Spirit and love each other like you love yourselves. And even Jesus said, on these 2 laws hang all the prophets. And so, but look, my grandfather said, you know, colonizing consciousness has the capacity to mess up a 2-car parade. You know? Those 2 things were just too, that's it? Where's all the fun? You know what I mean? Where's the drama? Where's the money? How am I going to make any money? You know what I mean? And I don't know where that came from, but it was like an infection. Fear and greed, they're like infections, you know? They take you over and all of a sudden you're not human anymore. You're a snake, a rat, a squirrel, you know, a weasel, all these other karmic entities and creatures who have different characteristics. But I really treasure the fact that we're all human. Because we can experience compassion, we can experience empathy and love and forgiveness and mercy and reverence and sacredness and respect in a way that no other creature on this planet can on a good day. You hear me? You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this is, to me, the most important thing to be doing and thinking and most importantly talking about. I'm doing these little talks around Atlanta now and up in Nashville and some of the local surrounding cities in Asheville. Are you familiar with Credo Mutwa?
I'm not.
This is a Zulu. He's the high spiritual leader for the Zulu nation in South Africa.
Oh.
Credo Mutwa.
Okay.
And so I go over there and stay with him. I have a little house in Zimbabwe, in Limpopo Valley. And a little town, a little village actually, only 200 people there, is called Pafuri. And so he has gatherings, and they're basically sacred conversations. And he calls them, the Zulu word for it is Indaba. Indaba, Indaba. We're going to have an Indaba. And so I said, what's that? He said, that's where we all get together and gather together with the intention of the heart and talk about things that really matter. It's called an Indaba. So I'm having those. I go to different health food stores and museums of natural history, and I was just at Emory yesterday, and we talk, and sometimes as many as a couple hundred people show up.
Wow.
Sometimes it's only 30 or 40 people show up, but that's
a lot.
That's an awesome conversation, and they're starting to, circles are breaking off, and everybody, I said, this is what we need. If you're standing in a line at a movie, if you're waiting on a table at a restaurant, you need to be talking about this, because the people who are creating it never take a vacation. They never sleep. They're taking this place apart every minute of every day. So we don't have time to, you know what I mean, to relax. We have to keep that conversation alive, because we believe that when it's all said and done, that this whole place is basically energy, frequency, and vibration. Energy, frequency, and vibration. Various degrees. Once it solidifies, it looks like us. But we're basically energy and frequency and vibration, harmony. You know, the words we use to describe our peaceful states all sound like music. You know what I mean? We're harmonizing with the angel choir. You know what I mean? We're not sharp, we're not flat, we're right on key, right? We're singing with the choir. That's why they call it the universe. One song, right? Universe, one song. So we're all part of the music. And so it seems like we think about something, then we talk about it. But as soon as we talk about it, we don't realize this sometimes. We don't take accountability and responsibility for that. What we just talked about is now going to manifest. Because we've released that energy and that frequency, and it's going to solidify somewhere, sometime, somehow or another. So we create the world around us by the things we talk about. And that comes from the things we think about or feel. Once we manifest them, then it becomes our character. That's who we are now. We've designed the prison we're going to walk into, or not. And then once we do that, that becomes our destiny. So our destiny here as humans is directly connected to what we think about, what we talk about, you know, the deeds we perform. That's who we are. Doesn't matter what we say. They're going to judge us by what we do, right? You can see that happening all over the place right now. They'll be telling you one thing and doing another, right in front of you. You're going to believe me or your lying eyes? You know what I mean? And so that's what I think is important now, is these conversations. And so we call them indabas. And we talk like this. I say what I would like for people to consider as a meaningful journey on this planet. So we have an earth walk. So now we've seen each other again. We remember the dream. Now we're going to walk together for a while, somehow or another. And so if that's true, then basically we're kind of walking each other home, because we're all waiting on a ride. You know what I mean? Ride's going to come take us to the next journey. Just like when we was in our mother's womb, they took us to this journey. We're going to keep on taking journeys. And so I consider that if that's how it is, and that's sure how it seems to be, why not care for each other? Why not make it a sweet, child-friendly journey where the kids are laughing and playing, and everybody's got enough food to eat, everybody's got somewhere to sleep at night, everybody's got somebody to love on, somebody to love on them. You know what I mean? There's plenty for everybody. Our family's never going to get too big. We're never going to give this earth something the Creator can't handle. And so, but we got to be willing to make that choice. That's the difficulty. Our priorities. If we look around and see what some people have, is how can humans do the things they do to each other? You look at child trafficking, sex trafficking, slavery, injustice, and mean, lying, cheating, stealing, conniving, deceit. It's like a horror movie, and we're forced to watch it. You know what I mean? It's like that's what my aunt Millie used to say. You know, they say if you don't learn from nature, you're doomed to repeat it. Well, she said even then, you still got to watch your friends repeat it because they ain't going to settle down. And so it's not an easy walk being here on earth. It's not easy. But once you understand how meaningful it is, you do what Rumi said. You remember Rumi, this old Persian poet? He was sweetie pie. He said, this is all you got to do. Close your eyes, fall in love, and stay there. Don't let anything disrupt you. Don't let anything derail you. Don't let anything distract you. He said, because from then on, every decision you make will be made from love, and it'll be a good one. God, could it be that simple? Just close your eyes, fall in love, and stay there. What a concept. So that I've been using that as a mantra every morning. So I automatically give everybody a huge, generous line of forgiveness credit. If you can imagine, especially when I'm doing them all over Atlanta, like in Decatur and out of Georgia Tech and Brookhaven and various areas of Atlanta, out on the west side and the south side and Fayetteville and everywhere. That there's very eclectic groups of, like the village people. You know what I mean? If there's 50 people there, there's going to be 50 people from 50 walks of life that maybe anywhere else wouldn't have been able to talk to each other. You know, they wouldn't have, they had anything in common or whatever people think or don't think, I don't know. But when we come together, the conversations always, typically, not always, but typically, start off kind of like aberrant. You know, nobody knows quite what to say. Why are we here? What are we talking about? So I have to create like a context, like I did. I say, consider this as a premise and a reference point for this conversation. And you must accept this or not accept it. If you don't, then that's another conversation. But if you do accept that we are riding on the third rock from this star and we are traveling through space at unprecedented speeds, that's a context. That's the framework for our teeny little lives here on this third rock. Gives us some perspective. You know what I mean? There's a huge, infinite universe out there. What are we talking about? You know, what were we talking about? You know what I mean? And so then you come back to this moment and say, okay, I'm going to remember my ancestors. They worked and played and prayed so hard for thousands of years because in this very moment that we're standing here on this deck right now, the three of us can feel blessed because our lineage somehow survived the Holocaust, the genocide. Our people have been wiped off this earth for so many years. You know, they killed 50 million Native Americans before 1800. That's the biggest genocide ever conducted anybody knows about. But they talk about the Jews, they talk about the Africans with Leopold, you know, they talk about a lot of things, but they don't talk about Andrew Jackson. They don't talk about all these people that killed all our people. And the same thing happens in Africa, same thing happens in South America, same thing's happening in China. Our people made it. Ever how they did it, we don't know, but they fell in love, they had a baby, fell in love, had a baby, fell in love, had a baby. Here we stand as testimony to the success of our particular lineage. I believe that it's all been divinely orchestrated for a purpose, and the reason we are here because we know what needs to be done. We're the ones who were saved for the job, kind of like a digestive enzyme in your body, you know, probiotic. Mother's going to take care of us because we help her. She's not going to we're not going to go out with the infection. She wants to get rid of the infection, but not the probiotics. So I don't know if this is a good analogy, but this is kind of like how I look at it, you know. So I set that up as a context. I said, okay, let's all agree. Do you feel that's happening? You know, every once in a while I get one of these guys that thinks the earth is flat, but they're not around all the time. I said, the earth is not flat. It's thinking it's flat. So, but we create a context, and it's if this is what you want to talk about, I think we need to talk about this. I think the children need to hear this. And some people agree and they stay and talk, and people don't want to talk, they just leave. And some people leave. But most people stay. What are we talking about? I want to hear about this. You know, I didn't think about that. I didn't know that. I mean, I hear this a lot. Wow, I never looked at it that way. You know what I mean? They get it. See, it's almost like people have a menu of choices. Because you'll hear them say, I had to do this, I had no choice. I hear that a lot. Of course you had a choice. You didn't have to do it. Well, I had this, that, and the other obligations. I said, that's all mind-made. You know what I mean? It's like, what really is in your heart? That's what needs to be done. If you start listening to your coyote head, you'll believe anything your head tells you. It's a good story, but it might not always be true. But in your heart, even though it might not be a good story, and it might not be rational, it might not be logical, it might not make perfect sense, but your heart keeps telling you to do it, you got to do it. Or you'll wish you did on your deathbed. That's what I saw in hospice work. People crossing over, they didn't say, I'm ready, come and get me. Nobody. I wish I'd have went to Paris when I had the chance. I didn't tell my kids I loved them enough. I never got together with my brother or my sister, my uncle, my aunt, you know, all these kind of things. And so I'm thinking, if that's really what's in your subconscious or in the bottom of your heart or the back of your, you know what I mean? You need to live it. Don't die with it. You know what I mean? And so I like to bring these up. I think it's critical now. It's like we're dealing with sepsis on a global scale. Mother Earth has an infection right now that's in her blood. It's in the water. It's in the earth. It's in the trees. It's everywhere. Imagine 7.5 billion two-leggeds. Never mind all the four-leggeds that are on antibiotics and steroids and growth hormones and Viagra and antidepressants and chemotherapy. All, once we consume it, it has joined the precipitation cycle. All those pharmaceuticals go back into nature. We take in water. We're like water filters. We take in water and then we put it back. We take in water and we put it back. And water remembers everything. So if you're thinking bad thoughts, or taking toxic substances, or doing this, it goes right back into nature. Nature knows. Everybody knows. And so these things are important to say, oh, I didn't know that. How come nobody ever told me that? I said, well, if you investigate your life and investigate who you are, what does it mean to be a human being? Don't you think that's worth considering? Since you're here anyway and you're a human, you're not an elephant or a hippo, you know, you're a human. And so what does that mean? Well, we've done lots of research over the years and said, well, what it means is you have some magic powers. If you use them wisely, you use them to exploit or to take advantage of, they're going to backfire on you like a, you know what I mean? You'd be shooting yourself in the foot. But if you use them to help people, your gifts will come alive. Because our people, our conversation with the Great Spirit is such that he says all humans are potentially healers. They just need to find the medium that I put them there for. But we're still here because we have a gift, because we have something the Creator thinks we need to offer the world to make it a better place. Because the Creator is mostly concerned about the children. That's the future. The seeds, you know, the hidden seeds. And one of the analogies that seems to connect with a lot of people and it expands their menu greatly without me having to say much more in that arena is that when you pick up something as simple maybe as an acorn, let's say you hold it, you know, acorn. I got them all over the ground here. And you look at it and you think, okay, what's that acorn dreaming about? It's dreaming about being an oak tree. But one day, right, I will be this oak tree. And see this little seed right now. But under the right conditions, with a little help from its friends, right, it will become an oak tree. It's not going to change its destiny. It's not going to say, I think I'd rather be a pine. I think I'd rather be a Chinese dwarf apple tree. You know, it's not going to happen. It's got a destiny. Oak tree. And there ain't going to be no confusion about it. Once it's an oak tree, you're not going to walk up to that oak tree and think, looks like a pear tree to me. You know what I mean? It's going to be an oak tree. My people contend that we all have a seed like that inside of us. That under the right conditions, with a little help from our friends, we can blossom and become who it is that we're supposed to be, which is the best human being we can be. That's what our destiny is. And my grandmother used to say, if you can't find those people, you need to be one. And that's how we're going to make the world heal, one heart at a time. See, all the stars we can see us. Sometimes we don't reflect on the fact that we're being watched, you know, by the universe. I mean, you lay out at night and look at all those stars can see you just as plain as they're like a hawk, you know what I mean? And they're only giving us one thing.
Love.
And life.
Love and life.
And light.
Love
Right?
and life.
Mm-hmm. And so that's what they want, because they want us to sustain ourselves forever, just like them. I mean, they don't want anything to change like that. They don't want us to become a square block. They don't want us to kill ourselves. You know, it's like a suicide hotline, right? With all the star people. Keep this place alive. So they send in this light. The light reaches our atmosphere and turns into something called DNA, the blueprint for life on planet Earth. And I thought, what a great idea. This creator makes it available in all the flowers. So then the honeybees go to the flowers, bring the information, the eternal, lifelong information, back to their hives and share it with me. Share it with us. Share it with all beekeepers if they're willing to understand this process. And so then that message is in that bee pollen. That's how come you look like you every day. I look like me every day. The trees all look. I mean, nobody swaps DNA during the night. You know what I mean? We replicate ourselves in our own image every day. And so does the food. So does everything. And that's because the light so far has been consistently God-given. Once that we start using genetically modified organisms that are created in a laboratory somewhere, nobody has a clue about what the outcome is going to be, because they've just set something into motion that we've never tried before. So it's like we're part of this huge experiment. See what happens. Let's do this and see what happens. And so our people are spiritually embattled in this cause to keep things authentic and natural and the way it's always been in the life force. We don't need any extra chemicals. We don't need any toxins. We don't need those things. We need love. We need family. We need good food. We need good water. We need good air to breathe. That's what, that worked for millions of years. It's only been the past 5,000 or 10,000 years, which in the scheme of things is a long time, but not really when you think about millions of years, that we've become the people who are industrialized and who want to exploit the mother. Used to be we respected her, we thought it was sacred. But now it's it's a resource, as opposed to our people who think she is the source of life. And so we're all approaching it poetically in different ways. That's one of the things we say up here at the Sweat Lodge when people get here. We say, the world is perfect. There's just a lot of people having a bad conversation. What if we went back out into the world with the consciousness and the intention to raise the level of our own personal poetry, so that everything we said to each other was a reflection of what we truly hold dear in our hearts about what it means to be human and walking together right now on the earth. And we reflected in our conversation. Show me some love. You know what I mean? And just was living like that. And I know people who do. You actually have to become aware, once you wake up. So you see where you are and what's going on, then you can respond appropriately. You accept the situation, you adapt to the situation, and then you accommodate the situation, and then you can move on. You can't move on until you do all three. Like if you're hanging out with a guy and he just got his stomach blowed out, and he's giving you pictures of his family to take to him because he knows he's dying and all that kind of stuff, and you're trying to stay with him and comfort him in his last minutes, and Sergeant comes up and says, you got to get on over there. They need you over there. You go, but my friend's dying. We don't want to leave anybody behind. They said, he's done for. Got to get it, accept it. He's dead. They need you over there. You still save somebody over there. You can't save him. And it's all like, And so that's the adapting part. It ain't easy sometimes. But it ain't the strong ones that survive. It's the ones who can adapt. And that's how come we're standing here on this deck right now. Our people knew how to adapt long enough to have a family anyway. The essence of various flowers is the essence that flower's it's kind of like musical keys. I need to have a G note, I need to have a C note, I need to have a D, maybe an A minor, you know what I mean? And so on some vibrational energetic level, flowers are in that same harmonic field. And so we might give it another name. We might call it joy, pleasure, peace, whatever it's called. It's a feeling, That's what my grandfather used to say. He said, don't worry so much about what you're going to say, grandson. They're not going to remember what you said. They're only going to remember how you made them feel. And so that's the way flowers are. They make you feel good.
Yes.
And they can get very specific.
Yes.
And so, like if you are depressed, that's very specific. You don't want to be depressed anymore. There's flowers that can take you out of depression. There's lots of plants that can take you. A walk in nature can take you out of depression. Nature is just wanting you not to be depressed. Don't be. Look, life is all around you. What if everybody woke up in the morning realizing that they were in the same room with the woman they love more than anybody, and she was just about to give birth? Okay? And you have a choice. How am I going to behave? I'm in the room. I'm loving this woman like crazy. She's about to have a baby. How can I help? Right? I talk a little softer maybe. I move a little slower. Maybe I tiptoe. I want her to feel sweet and safe, right? Well, that woman, my people tell me, that woman is Mother Earth. And she's always giving birth. And we're right in the room. We're right in the middle of it. We're just going to ignore it? Or we're going to try to comfort her and help her while she's doing this incredible life. I mean, think about all the life force on this planet and what Mother Earth has to go through to replicate herself in her own image every day worldwide. Our bees are Italian. Yeah. So one of the fascinating things when I was younger was how much bees love music. My grandfather tried so many different. First, we played drums to them, and they, but their favorite is violins. We get the best production out of our bees if we play like Vivaldi or Paganini on the music. They smile, they hum, they're just so happy, and so we play it often. The music. It's a vibe. It's a frequency. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know what it is about that. I just know it is about that.
And it's a language.
Yeah, and they understand it. So I watch them. So they leave in the mornings, and they fly high, and they go all over, and they visit maybe 250,000 plants in 6 weeks. Right? Each one of them, 30,000 of them. Right? Approximately. These are all approximations, but. 30,000 bees will visit 250,000 flowers each in a 6-week period. And so they go out high, they come back once they get onto a flower and they start taking that pollen. Now there's 2 kinds of pollen. Pollen's kind of like corn. It's got a husk. The kernel on the inside is what you want to eat. The husk is just what was protecting it, like the shell of a nut, right? So bees have the capacity to crack that thing open, take that kernel, and stuff it in their little pouches. Or get it on their fur, They just saturate themselves with that kernel. And the husk floats around in the atmosphere, and that's what lands all over your car, and that's what looks green and yellow, and that's the pollen. But that's the husk of the pollen, not the pollen itself. But people don't usually draw a distinction between those 2 things. And they're 2 very different things. It's like eating the husk of a piece of corn. Ain't nearly as tasty as the corn itself. And so you don't eat the husk, but it's got other uses, right? Packing and whatnot. And so they saturate themselves with that kernel, and then they bring it back to their hive. Now when they come home, they're going to be flying about here because they're heavy, because they got all that pollen on them now. And so when they get back into the hive, they do a little dance. They tell everybody in the hive, I know you. You recognize me? This is my dance, This is where I've been today, and let me tell you what I did today. And what if we had to respond to everybody's inquiries with interpretive dance? This is who we are, this is where we've been, and this is what, and everybody says, I know you, I feel you, come on in, right? No words. And so they go in, and when they get in there, we have a little contraption that's subtle, but it helps them to release the pollen, without hurting them. And some of it falls onto these trays, and some of it goes on down into the bottom of this super hive. And they get into that, and that's how they turn that into honey. They turn that pollen into honey. And no one knows how they do that. They just do that. And so when it's created, about 50% of the contents to this day are unknown. They don't know what it is. They don't know how they do it, and they don't know what it is. They can say, well, they seem to chew it up and spit it out. But is that what they're doing? We don't know. You know what I mean? But we do know that we don't know what it is. And the reason our people say we don't know what it is because it's not here yet. It's the future coming in. It's like, what is this light? You know what I mean? How am I able to see all these things? I mean, what is this? You know what I mean? I'm no longer in a dark room, And so we believe that if you eat pollen from the local area, you're getting the information from all the stars on how that local area, including you, because you're local, we're native to this area for the time being, we all have the same information about what it takes to sustain us. How can we replicate ourselves in our own image every day and stay healthy, stay wise, stay well informed, you know what I mean? And continue to have the energy to support our neighbors and our community. It takes a lot of energy to do that. It takes a lot of energy to do that. And the more obstacles we bump into, the more energy it takes. And then all of a sudden you start attracting what people have come to call energy vampires. Because if you got too much energy, a lot of people are going to want some of it. And so you have to kind of protect yourself against all of that. And that's why, and the light knows that. So that's why they sent us pollen. Very small doses, lots of information. A quarter of a teaspoon, 250,000 flowers. So all of the colors, all the smells, all the dreams of healing that these flowers have for each one of them, whatever they're, just like us. What do you want to do? You say, well, we're all human beings. We all have an appearance like a flower. We all have a smell just like a flower. We all be able to help somebody just like a flower. But it's up to us who that is and what that is and when that is and how that is. Same way with the flowers. So, but if you sing to them their songs, they're more prone to want to harmonize with you than ever before and work really hard for it. The idea that DNA and the blueprint for life on this planet is profoundly critical right now. And there's another food that has a lot of DNA in it. It's seaweed, like spirulina and chlorella. But the difference is spirulina and food from the ocean has a memory of the food chain. Everything that's ever happened on this planet is in the protein, amino acids, the consciousness of ocean food. I mean, that's like primordial life, right? Wow. You can go back 5 billion years if you eat spirulina. But now the future is in the hands of the honeybees. If we want to sustain ourselves and continue to replicate ourselves in our own image, we need to come out of the ocean and go into heaven and the stars. Because the stars all know exactly what to do. They've been doing it forever. They know how to orbit, they know how to spin, turn, they know where they're going. You just have to trust that Creator don't make mistakes. Everybody's in the right place at the right time until somebody comes along like a demonic infectionist, kinds of fear, greed, and control and all these horrible things, and tries to reinvent something that God made. And it typically does not have a good outcome. It just leads to conflict and war and death, and nobody wants to raise their babies in a war zone. I don't care what anybody says. People want you to raise your babies in a war zone, but the people that don't want to, you look at them and you talk to them, and they would be carrying their dead babies. I want to go. You think, oh, this is so sad. So all of this has somehow gotten twisted by some kind of infection. So I'm suggesting that once we make a choice, expand our menus to include more than what is familiar to us, well, I know you live up there in the woods, Tom, but you got it made. You don't live in the real world. I said, what? They said, yeah, I mean, I live downtown, I got to drive in traffic. That's the real world, it's like toxic cities and urban energy, that's the real world. I said, no. You got to go back a little bit. Think about history. It hadn't always been that way. What if you was in Atlanta and you could see through the concrete and you could actually see the watershed of the Peachtree watershed, and you could see how it was when it was just hills and valleys and pastures, and it wasn't like the Capitol and the Gold Dome and this, that, and the other, but it was just fields and woods and forests. That's energy, and that dream is still there in the ground. You take all that concrete away, you blow it all up, you wouldn't recognize that place in 10 years. It turned back into a forest. We can see that from the Mayan ruins in Mexico and all the places. They can't even see them. The jungle has grown up so much around them. And a lot of tribes in this country and in Africa and in South America build their villages in such a way as you can't hardly tell them from the environment. The San people were the perfect ones. Their language even sounds like the wilderness. They have this clicking language. I mean, you walking through the woods and these guys are talking to each other, it sounds like a bunch of tree frogs. You don't think your humans are around. You know what I mean? You don't get scared that somebody's going to shoot you. You know what I mean? Because we've got a bad reputation in the forest. We're cannibals. We're savages. We kill without warning. We leave bodies laying around, parts missing off of them. We ruin people's homes. We set fire to them every once in a while. Animals have been talking about this for a long time, and don't want to be with those people. You know what I mean? They're the demons. We all love. I mean, we live like animals, but we all have a dream. We all embrace our families. We all want to raise our babies. You look at chickens even know who their babies are. You could put 500 chicks, have the mama walk in, and she knows exactly which 3 or 4 or 6 are hers. So I know they got a solid dream, everybody. And so that's, for me, the significance of the pollen and the bees and the flowers. Honeybees were designed, they haven't been here all the time. They only got here about 500 million years ago. And I think it was because the starlight said we needed them. We ain't doing it by ourselves. They saw something. Like a long time ago, back in the early 90s, I went out to Colorado. This fellow, a friend of ours named John, was 40 years old, and he had just made $40 million in the Chicago stock market. Wow. He said, if I make $40 million by the time I'm 40, I'm going to give back to the people. So he said, all right. So he sent us all an invitation to come to his brand new 1,000-acre ranch in Colorado. And so I went out and bought me a briefcase, I said, don't forget to ask for the money. Don't forget to ask for the money. And so I get out to Colorado, and it's me and Sequoia Trueblood and Gene Colucci from the Wintun people. Trueblood was from the Cherokee people. And it was Thomas Benyanka, right before he passed away, a Hopi elder. And we did a sweat lodge. What happened was, on one side of the mountain of the ranch he bought, he was looking for something or trying to make something, and he blew something up and it created a hole. Come to find out, this mountain was a geode. It's like hollow on the inside. And when they went inside, it was all these like crystalline looking things in there, and a little stream flowing through it, and the dirt was black and the stream looked red. And he said, this is a magical place. I said, yeah. So we built a little sweat lodge. We did a sweat lodge. After about 2 days of getting in, getting out, getting in, get out, he said, okay, now you can go look at what I want to show you. So we went deeper into this cavern, about 1,500 feet. And there was another big room, and he had run cables all back in there to light it up, So he lit it up, and it was about a 30-foot ceiling, around like this, with various mandalas on it. Some of them this big around, some of them real big around. Very complicated, almost like Buddhist looking, detailed circles with intricate pictures inside of them, geometric, sacred geometry kind of looking stuff. It wasn't really like pictures of trees or anything. It wasn't like cave art. You know, it was definitely some kind of communication. He said, does any of you know what this is? He says, I am perplexed. You know what I mean? I dream about things, I fantasize about things, but I really have no idea how deep inside this mountain, in this cave, somebody was here at one point and put these on the roof. What is it? And I was blown away. I mean, I felt like I was in the past and in the future. I felt like I was doing time travel right there. You know what I mean? It's like somebody did this like a long time ago, and I'm looking at it right now. This is unreal, you know. Thomas Banyanka, the old guy from the Hopi people, he says, I know what this is. My people told me what this is. I said, what is it? He said, well, I know that it was done by a group called the Anasazi.
The what?
The Anasazi, the ancient people.
Okay.
And he said, this is a picture of every disease on this planet. They went ahead and showed you what it looked like in its seed. These are the seeds of fear and the seeds of cancer and the seeds of this and the seeds of that. They put them on there, drew a picture so you'd know how to avoid them, like a map, right?
Wow.
Don't look at this, don't do this, you know, stay away from this one. Or in some ways of thinking, give them dignity and give them respect, because they can take you out. You know what I mean? So we honored them. So what they did, according to Thomas Banyanka, was take those and make an altar out of them. So they never contracted them because they kept them all happy, just by their community realizing what they could do if they went nuts. We could take you out, you know, just like they're doing now. So now we believe that Mother Earth has an autoimmune deficiency, because people are attacking each other, just like cells in the body. Cells in the body, they say, well, cancer, your cells don't recognize each other. You know, they're thinking it's a foreign body. That's exactly what we're doing. We're attacking each other. We're thinking it's a foreign body. We don't realize we're all in this together. This is us. There is no other word for other. You know, it's not I, me, mine, right? It's us, we, and ours. Our home. We have to do something, you know? It's just us. And so that's, I think it's all tied into the flowers, because that all happened at the same time. See, and all the analogies use the term seed, hidden seeds. We are the seeds of the future. And and our people say that's why they couldn't destroy us all, because we carry these seeds. And we keep coming back, just like nature. They can't get rid of us. And they became seeds. And look what's grown. Look what's evolved. Because if they don't evolve, it mutates. And there's been some mutants that have been created over the years, you know, that somehow gain access to public opinion, and they're not human at all. I don't know who they are or where they're from, but it ain't here. Because if they were from here, they would care about the future. They came here like an infection. You know one of the things about a virus, it wants to consume its host. That's one of the main characteristics of a virus. It's actually trying to become you. But it's totally unsuccessful because it's not you. So you die. And the virus moves on.
Wow.
That looks like what's happening here.
Wow.
Some kind of a cosmic virus has taken over, and it's trying to consume the world. It's all the trees, all the fish, all the animals, you know what I mean?
Wow.
All the land, until what's left? This mutated replica of something that once was.